welcome. We are live, and today we will be doing once again biology and chemistry because I feel like with math, on a scale of 1 to 10, in terms of like 10 being I really think I'll do well, and 1 being I won't. Math is like a 7. I think biology and chemistry are like a 5, and I think English is like an 8. So I'm really going to have a heavy focus on the sciences, and I'll also be doing a focus on English literature once we get closer to the exams. Anyways, let me go onto the AQA website, and what we'll be doing is we'll be going through a paper. So if you guys want to join in, feel free to. That would actually be really awesome if any of you guys could join in. Because my goal here is to create kind of a, make these streams a tad, more interactive and things like that. So I'll pop up a mark scheme, I'll pop up the question papers, higher tier, standard. Alright, so this is biology, I believe. So I'm gonna do June 2021 higher paper 1. That is the first one that I'll do. If you guys just give me a sec to find a mark scheme for it. What I like to do is go through the mark scheme while doing it. Mark scheme, June 2021. Alright. I like to go through the mark scheme when I do these papers. I obviously won't use them to like cheat and stuff. But instead what I'll do is I'll use the mark scheme. This is the damn paper that I've done today. Damn it, okay. June 2018 it is. June 2018 it is. Alright, we're ready. Question number 1. Eating food containing salmonella bacteria can cause illness. 2 symptoms of infection of salmonella are vomiting and diarrhea. What causes these symptoms? I assume that the first... So, part 1 here. Part 1 is most likely going to be on infection and response. So you know what? Before we even take another look at all these questions, let's lay out everything we know about infection and response, okay? So we know that pathogens, right? So we know that pathogens produce toxins, which I assume that they cause the symptoms, and they inhibit or destroy our current cells, our good cells. We know that there are phagocytes and lymphocytes. The phagocytes consume the pathogens. Lymphocytes release antitoxins and antibodies. So the antitoxins inhibit the toxins, and the antibodies attach directly to the virus of a pathogen. So now that we've laid out our basics, let's take another look at this question. 2 symptoms of eating salmonella is vomiting and diarrhea. What causes these symptoms? Well, we've just said toxins. Toxins are the things that make you ill. Let's go check if we got that right in the mark scheme, which I'm sure we did. Toxins / poisons, and in brackets it says secreted by from the bacteria. Okay. So I would have gotten a mark for that. We would have, if you guys are answering at home, I assume we both would have gotten a mark there. I'll keep a little tally there. Because the important thing with biology is explaining yourself over the top. So there I said toxins, but I should have maybe also said toxins that are released by the bacteria. Give 2 ways a person with a mild infection of salmonella can help prevent the spread of the bacteria to other people. Okay. I'm assuming that it would be as basic as washing your hands. I mean, this paper was made before COVID, so I'm not sure whether they give you it for saying face mask, but I guess literally like sanitizing, washing your hands, and I guess keeping distant from people. Yeah, no physical contact. I assume that would be one. No physical contact with other people. We would have got it from saying, quite a lot here. Wash your hands. It says wash hands after using toilet or being sick. Oh shit, hang on. It says ignore wash hands if you just don't put anything else. Damn, these papers are horrible. So yeah, we would have had to say wash hands after being sick. I mean, to be fair, with COVID, you just wash your hands all the time. That's a virus and we're talking about a bacteria here, but I kind of would have thought the same would have gone there. Just washing your hands a lot more often. Isolate yourself. Allow examples of how isolation could be achieved. So I guess me saying no physical contact with people, that probably could have worked. Bugger, I've just spoiled the next answer. Isolate yourself, disinfect clothing and surfaces, do not prepare food while infected. Alright, all the basics there, but you guys see what I mean there with the fact that these biology papers can be scummy as hell. That they really can be scummy. That they can give you a mark for putting something in the right vein, and other times they'll give you something for stating the obvious. It's tough. Okay, so I'll put a mark there, and I'll put one missing mark there. In very serious infection of salmonella, a doctor can prescribe drugs to kill the bacteria. What type of drug can the doctor prescribe to kill the bacteria? Antibacterials. That's going to be the answer, I'm assuming. Antibacterial. Because remember, I know the question doesn't talk about that too much, the question here, but the idea to talk about would be antibiotic-resistant bacteria. If you get a question on that, that can be an interesting one to talk about. Because remember, bacteria are evolving now through mutations so that they are becoming more resistant to antibiotics, which is why now you really shouldn't take antibiotics if you're suffering from a mild, like cold or not cold, a bacterial infection, instead of what a lot of people do and just have them all the time. Don't do that. A person with AIDS may take longer than a healthy person to recover from a salmonella infection. Explain why. Well, obviously, AIDS it attacks the immune system, which means the immune system will not be able to effectively respond to the salmonella infection. I guess that's one point, right? Point number one. What's a word I was just thinking of? It attacks the immune system. So the infection takes less time, takes longer to be Killed. Alright, let's go check the mark scheme, see if any of that was right. Immune system is damaged / weakened, or immune system doesn't function properly. I put the immune system is attacked. Would I have gotten that? I don't think so. White blood cells cannot kill bacteria, which is what I put here. It takes longer to be killed. Okay, that is a weird one then. That is a weird one. You see what I mean? I said things in a similar vein, but I didn't get any marks. So instead of saying attacked, I mean, would I have gotten it for saying attacked? Is that, like, clear enough? Immune system is damaged and weakened. So remember, AIDS is the one that immunocompromises you. So I guess, I mean, it literally says that allow immunocompromised. Oh, for fuck's sake. Why did I say that? Immune system is damaged and weakened. So it doesn't function properly. White blood cell. Okay. Honestly, these questions, bro. I'm being awfully strict to myself here. If it's not on my mark scheme, I'm not giving it to myself. Even though likely I would have gotten at least 1 mark there. Salmonella can be transmitted from chickens to humans. Chickens can be vaccinated to prevent the transmission of salmonella. Give one other way that farmers could prevent the transmission of salmonella from chickens to humans. I guess isolating infected chickens? Like keeping the infected ones away? Is that too obvious? Is that too subtle? Let's have a look at the mark scheme. Oh, okay. I might have got that. Keep infected chickens isolated / indoors. Okay. It also said if you give give the chickens antibiotics. How would you give a chicken? I mean, I know, like, you can just make them eat it, but, like, I feel like that... Would that be... I like to see that. I like to see someone just giving, like, a bloody, like, tablet or something to, like, a chicken. That's funny. Anyways, so I'm going to give myself that. Again, you guys might disagree with the way I'm marking this. Maybe you think I'm being too strict, I'm being too lean. Either way, a restaurant owner employed a scientist to... Oh, we've done this one already. We've done this one. So I can't do this because I already know the answers. The scientist investigated the effect of cleaning liquid A and cleaning liquid B on salmonella. So this is a diagram, so I won't be able to show you guys this. The Petri dish was placed in an incubator at 25 degrees for 48 hours. After 48 hours, he calculated the area around each one. So, area around disc with no bacteria growing on it, 11, 13. What measurement would the scientists need to take to calculate the area where no bacteria were growing? Pi r squared. You're calculating the area of a circle. You wouldn't have gotten that? You wouldn't have got... Oh my god, actually kill yourself. No. Are you joking? It says what measurement? Shit. Okay, I'll hold my hands up and admit I actually got that one wrong. What measurement would he need to take to calculate the area? If it said what would he need to do to calculate the area? Yeah, you just measure the radius. I went a step too far. Bollocks. Okay. You know what? We'll skip these questions because I've already done them. Okay. Metabolism is the sum of all chemical reactions in the cells of a body. One metabolitic reaction is the formation of lipids. Give one other, chemical react. Mitosis isn't a chemical reaction, right? Maybe it's the breakdown of... I mean, you could literally say anything here, couldn't you? You could say, like, the breakdown of lipids. It links to the answer. Let's have a look. Let's see what I would have gotten there. Oh, quite a lot here. Ignore reference to digestion. Ignore formation of carbohydrates. So we would have gotten it for saying... Oh, respiration! Shit! I forget respiration's chemicals, isn't it? Because, obviously... Oh, yeah, bugger. Breakdown of excess protein. Would I have gotten that then for saying breakdown? I mean, the first thing I said was wrong. But would I have gotten it there for saying the breakdown of lipids? Because that technically involves it. It's cells, not flipping... Shit. I honestly... You know what the thing is? I am misreading and misinterpreting so many of these questions. This is actually so bad. So many diagram questions and math questions that I can't do because I'm using a computer. Let's just find another question. Okay, here. A student made the following hypothesis about the heart rate of smokers and non-smokers. They said during exercise, the heart rate of smokers increases more than the heart rate of non-smokers. Design an investigation that would allow you to test this hypothesis. Would this link to a required practical that we haven't done? Again, we have a biology teacher that barely explains stuff, so is this a practical that we've done, or are we just literally meant to design one here? Because if so, I guess you could say... Get a sample of smokers, get a sample of non-smokers, or get a group of non-smokers and smokers. Make each one do the same amount of exercise, maybe for like 60 seconds or something. Maybe measure heart rate before. And then measure heart and record it. And then record heart rate after. Calculate a mean or place data in graph. How many points is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6? I need another point here. And maybe I could talk about control variables. So maybe I could say ensure that they have not consumed anything that might increase heart rate. I don't know. It's 6 marks, so I feel like I wouldn't have gotten. Let's have a look. Alright, 2 groups of people, non-smokers and smokers. That's what I put, so 1 point there. Have at least 5 people in each group, or large groups. Okay. That was kind of obvious. Have large groups. Get each person to do a named exercise. I mean, what if I don't know any? Like what? Just, I don't know. Control variables. Same number of people in each group, same gender, same level of activity. So I put that each person does 60 seconds. So I'm assuming that would go for it. Same time for exercise, yeah. Record heart rate for each person before and after. Oh, that's only 1 point? Okay, so that's 3 marks so far. Calculate increase in heart rate for each person. Compare results. Oh, so would I have even gotten that? Calculate increase in heart rate group for each person after the exercise. So I guess calculate a percent increase. I put calculate a mean. I guess I should have said calculate a mean increase. So I could have gotten that. Compare results for each group, which I said put in a graph. I guess to elaborate, place data in a graph to see which group. Okay, and I wouldn't have even been able to get higher than 4 marks, I don't think, because it says level 3 students should refer to at least 5 smokers and 5 non-smokers, carrying it out with control variables and a means of determining an increase. So yeah, I said exercise, I said record it before and after. I should have talked about the sample size, which I did, I just didn't explain in detail. Again, really annoying questions where, you think you've got the points, but you haven't filled in the middle. The circulatory system is composed of blood vessels, and heart. Urea is transported in blood plasma. Name 2 of the substances transported in blood plasma. I guess shit. I literally know this as well. I know this because we did a question on it today, but I can't remember. I know one is probably glucose. One might be glycogen. What else is transporting plasma? Antibodies? Okay, my answer will be glucose and antibodies. Let's see if I got any marks for that. Oh, I think I only would have gotten 1 mark there. I was right with glycerol. No! Why do I keep doubting myself? Glucose. Oh, carbon dioxide and water, bro. Why didn't I? Okay, I know that now. I know that. If I'm gonna write it down. Plasma, water, CO2. There, I've remembered that now. But yeah, glucose and glycogen, you could also say. Okay. Some athletes train at high altitude. Training at high altitude increases the number of red blood cells per centimeter cubed of blood. Explain why having more red blood cells per centimeter cubed of blood is an advantage. Well, I know this one. I know this one. I think I really get this. So, because there is more blood, what does it say? More red blood cells. It means more hemoglobin, which means more oxygen can be taken in, which means more oxygen can go around, which means, hang on, no. It means more oxygen is used for respiration, which means more energy released around body. And let's think, can we bullshit about anything else there? I guess you could say hemoglobin absorbs more oxygen, which means, I guess, but this is a 3 mark question. I'm assuming I've done the bare minimum there. More hemoglobin, more oxygen can be transported for respiration, so Hello, okay. I think I would have gotten full marks for that. I put more hemoglobin. More hemoglobin, more oxygen can be more oxygen can be taken in. I put, but it says more oxygen can be carried. For aerobic respiration. Oh, okay. So I guess you could. I don't know. Allow less anaerobic respiration. Okay. Would I have gotten max marks there? I honestly can't even tell. This is the maddest thing about the biology papers. They are so ambiguous when it comes to like what to do. I think you would have had to talk about a specific cell? Because I just put a round body. I think maybe that's too vague. More energy released to the muscle cells. Okay. God damn, bro. These papers are going to be the death of me. Which two blood vessels carry deoxygenated blood? I mean, let's think about this properly. If we draw the... Oh, man, this pen's dying. Goodbye, pen. Okay, if we draw like a diagram of the heart, you obviously have your pulmonary vein, your aorta, your pulmonary artery, and your vena cava. So I'm assuming deoxygenated blood. The deoxygenated side is this side, your right side. So I'm assuming it's the vena cava and pulmonary artery. Yep, it is. Nice. Oh, blood vessel questions. We're bound to get some of these right. Which blood vessel carries blood into the right atrium? And it shows an image of an artery, a vein, and a capillary. Obviously, the right side is the deoxygenated side. The vein goes in, so it's B, vein. Compare the structure of an artery with the structure of a vein. Okay. I think you guys would know this one too. So the artery has thicker elastic tissue and muscle tissue than veins. Veins are wider. Veins have valves. I guess also I could have said veins are wider, arteries are narrower. Alright, so let's go check. That is 3 marks. I should have surpassed that. Arteries have a thicker layer of muscle tissue. Veins have a thinner layer of muscle tissue. So that's 1 mark for talking about muscle tissue. 1 mark there, I also would have gotten there for saying arteries have a thicker layer of elastic tissue. So yep, already 2 marks. Arteries have a narrower lumen. Oh, that's what you call it. The physical. So you know how you have like a blood vessel. That's like your muscle tissue. That bit there, this is the lumen. I forget that. Okay. That's a good thing to remember for tomorrow's revision recap stream. Arteries do not have valves. Veins have valves. Yes, there we go. Finally getting some marks. Okay. Very quickly, I'm going to go back through the paper and just count how many marks I would have gotten so far. Because I know I've been very harsh on myself here. Also, the fact I haven't done most of this paper though. I've skipped a lot of questions, so actually I unfortunately can't really say. That's a bit of a bummer. Ooh! Heart rate is controlled by a group of cells. I draw an X on figure 5 to show the position of the pacemaker. The pacemaker cells. So if we're assuming that this is our right side, this is our left, it would be there. It will be there. And I'm assuming that I've got that right. Yep. It is the right atrium. A patient may be fitted with an artificial pacemaker. What condition may be treated using an artificial pacemaker? I know these questions now because I've looked at the mark scheme for these, so we're going to have to change papers. But this one would be an irregular heartbeat. If you have an irregular heartbeat, you need a pacemaker to adjust it. Because I'm assuming an irregular heartbeat means you're going to get an uneven amount of blood. You know, like maybe too little or too much blood going around, like deoxygenated. The results were anomalous. I disagree, because the results are very similar. Okay, let's actually just go change papers now, guys. Hang on, another question. Explain how calcium ions are moved from the shell, the egg shell, into the cytoplasm. Okay. We could talk about this one very quickly. I think it's down to the fact that the ions diffuse into the cytoplasm, the cell membrane. Something about I think the cell membrane is semi-permeable. So the fact that the membrane is semi-permeable means that passively the ions will diffuse from a high concentration gradient into a low, so that they are absorbed into the cytoplasm. Let me go check if I got any of that right, because I have zero idea. Oh, it's osmosis? I thought osmosis was only for water. This is... Oh, I'm on the wrong question, that's why. Oh no, it's the opposite of it's because obviously I've just realised the cell is gonna have millions of things in it, isn't it? This is only gonna have a low concentration gradient. So actually, I honestly, in my head there for a second, while I was writing the fact that I said that this had a low concentration gradient, for a second I was like, is that right? And it was not right. So what I should have said there was ions are moved from a so it's literally just explaining active transport. I actually answered the other question there, because I talked about features of osmosis. Bollocks. Plants can be infected by fungi, viruses, and insects. An aphid feeds by inserting its sharp mouthpiece into the stem of a plant. Give one reason why the mouthpiece contains a high concentration of dissolved sugars. The plant stem. Inside the plant stem, there are phloems which contain glucose, which is being distributed around the cell. It's a 1 mark question. If I got any of that wrong, I'll cry. The mouthpiece. Oh yes, the phloem. Oh, I wouldn't have even needed to elaborate there. I could have just said the mouthpiece is in the phloem. It is. Damn. Plants infected with aphids may show symptoms of a magnesium deficiency, which includes yellow leaves and a stunted growth. Explain how a deficiency of magnesium could cause these. Oh, I don't know. Let's bullshit our way through this one. Okay, so we got to make 5 points here. But for added bonus, I'll do another one, just in case one of them's wrong. So a magnesium deficiency. Why could it cause these symptoms? Well, magnesium won't be used by the cells for growth, maybe. So I guess first point, magnesium won't. A deficiency means most magnesium won't be taken in by cells. This means the cell's growth, the cells will be limited. This means the cells will not have all the necessary ions. This means some cells will be unable to replicate. This could lead to... And what are the symptoms? Stunted growth. This could lead to a stunted growth. Due to the leaf cells not growing, not dividing, leading to less photosynthesis. Right, I've bullshitted my way through that. I have zero idea whether any of that was right. And I got none of that right, okay. Great. Oh. Okay guys, I did not know any of this. I did not know a single part about why magnesium was needed. We've never gone through this. So apparently, I mean, the yellow leaves due to lack of chlorophyll, I can kind of understand. I thought you had to refer to magnesium here. There's barely any mention, there's no mention to magnesium at all in these questions, in the answer. There's not a single reference. I thought you had to mention magnesium, that's what I thought. But no, apparently you fucking don't. Hang on though, so the yellow leaves are due to a lack of chlorophyll, which means there is less... Oh yeah, the rest is obvious. Lower rate of photosynthesis, which means the plant makes less sugar. The plant converts less sugar into protein for growth. I don't get how magnesium comes into play for that. It feels like they jumped the gun there. All they've said to begin with is yellow leaves due to lack of chlorophyll. How does magnesium link into that? Apparently you're not allowed to state the fact that magnesium is needed to make chlorophyll, so I'm assuming magnesium is needed to make chlorophyll. That is utter bullshit, bro. You can't say, why does magnesium cause these symptoms, and then ban me for mentioning magnesium. That is utter bullshit. That is actually repellent. I feel genuinely ill looking at that question. The next question I think is on monoclonal antibodies, which I think we know quite well. What you would do is you would inject a pathogen into like a mouse. This would trigger an immune response and lymphocytes would be produced. These lymphocytes could then be extracted from the mouse's spleen and combined with human tumor cells in order to create hybridomas, I think you call them. These can then be used in order to generate large quantities of the correct lymphocytes because they are constantly dividing. And then I guess you could also state the fact that this allows for testing of testing for diseases. And the correct answer was inject the protein into a mouse, combine the lymphocytes with a tumor to make it a hybridoma. Find a hybridoma which makes monoclonal... Oh, interesting. They've done this in a very different order to the way I said it. They've said inject it into a mouse, combine the lymphocytes with a tumor, which I mentioned it triggering an immune response. Find a hybridoma which makes monoclonal antibodies specific to the disease. Clone the hybridoma to produce many cells. Interesting. I mentioned things that did not mention there, but I feel like I still would have gotten some of that right. Inject it into a mouse, trigger an immune response, because it just is combined lymphocytes, but how would you... I explained how you would get them. And that's the whole paper, maybe. Following updated research information and communications with parents with cystic fibrosis, we have decided to withdraw the what? Question from topics. It has been decided not to provide a replacement as it would not be possible to determine accurately how a replacement would have performed. The following statistics may help you make effective use of a remainder of a paper. Wait, hang on, did they get into like some shit or something for talking about kids dying with cystic fibrosis? Bro, that's kind of messed up. But anyways, all the other questions I can't really find. But all the others are relatively good. All the other questions, like there's a food test question here. One thing I would say, guys, remember the food tests, learn them. You obviously have Benedict's, which is for protein, and that will turn purple or I guess lilac. You have iodine, which turns black or blue with starch. You have Benedict's, which you need to add a water bath to, but you also need to see it go from, you change to either red, orange, or green, depending on the sugar. And you have sedan-free, which is for lipids or fat, which forms a red layer at the top. So those right there, it could be a 6-mark question in an exam, talking about 3 out of 4 of those food tests. I'm noticing here it doesn't talk about sedan. Maybe that's one that not many people know about. So guys, learn the food tests. But honestly, I you know what's weird? Despite the fact I kind of flunked that, like I did really mid, I feel I'd have more confident with some of those questions now, because I now kind of get I get the significance now of reading the question so much. Think about it. About 25% of the mistakes I made there was because I read the question and I interpreted it the wrong way. Like, I can't really recall now what it was, but one of them talked about something and I talked about, see, it's bad that I'm forgetting them already. But you guys saw that. If you skip back maybe 30 minutes when we were just beginning the test, you would have literally seen, like, yeah, the pi r squared one, it said a measurement you would take to calculate the area, and I put pi r squared. But no, you wouldn't have gotten that, because it said measurement. The measurement you would take is you would calculate the radius. So that is my advice now. In fact, we'll go pull up some advice. Number 1, read question, which is obvious. Number 2, bullshit your way through. By that, what I mean is if you can only think, so if it's a 6-mark question, but you can only think of 1 or 2 points, explain the rest through elaboration. Elaborate on your point. So if for example, the question is like, why does a plant have stunted growth? You could say the fact that, explain. Let's say the question is explain why discoloration of leaves could lead to a stunted growth. So what you could say there is the lack of colour could lead to less photosynthesis. So let's assume this is a 5-mark question. Let's assume all you know there is that that's going to cause less photosynthesis. You could still bullshit your way through that. Because what does photosynthesis produce? It produces glucose, And what is glucose used for in a plant? For energy. And with less energy, it... Oh no, hang on, no. Sorry, that's misinformation. Glucose is used for sugar, and those ions are used for cell growth, I believe. So you could talk about cell growth, which would lead to, of course, a stunted growth. Now that's still only 4 points, but if you can kind of maybe bullshit your way through another point there, maybe you could say less photosynthesis means a lower production of glucose, which is used for sugar, which means cells are getting less ions, which means, you know, if you can bullshit your way through a response like that, you will probably get a lot more marks. And again, this is the thing I hate about the biology exams, chemistry included, stating the obvious and doubting. I don't know whether it's just me, but I swear down, I will end up doubting myself so much in a biology paper that I will literally end up putting the right answer and crossing it out and replacing it with a load of wrong, which is normally why I average like 50 to 55 in an exam. I could literally pick up 10, 15 more marks purely for just not doubting myself. Other times doubting is good because there have been times where I've made mistakes, but a lot of the time in biology, you're going to get maybe, if we draw like a pie chart here, you're going to get maybe, I want to say 30% of the paper for math. You're going to get maybe another 30 for stating the obvious, and you're going to get 40 marks for actual knowledge. So if you can't state the obvious, you're capping yourself. And then again, knowledge is also a huge part. That's a problem with me, is I know the stuff, but explaining it is tough. That's the problem. Like, I know, for example, that a stunted growth is caused due to discoloration of leaves, but can I explain why? Possibly. Can I explain it 100% accurately? Not at all. And that's the huge problem with biology and chemistry exams. So what I'm going to do on the Google document is I'm going to make a little section at the top called exam stuff or exam tips. And what it'll do, it'll contain things that I pull from the examiner reports, which are an actual thing. The examiners make reports where they basically take the piss out of people who couldn't answer a basic question. And what I'll do is I'll gather the most important examiner notes and then I'll use them in the bit. One note I did pick up is if you're asked, how would you repeat the experiment? How could you adjust the experiment to be more accurate? Okay, how would you adjust the experiment to be more accurate? What would you say there? A lot of people would say you would repeat it, but you could further add to that and probably get another mark, or maybe you could only get 1 mark. Maybe you had to include this bit. You would have to say you would be able to calculate an average, which would let you see any possible anomalous results. So there you go. That could be a lifesaver in an exam there. Talk about, so if it says, how come, what would you do to make this experiment more accurate? You could say, use a more higher resolution thing. But instead, you could also arguably say, repeat the experiment in order to calculate an average and to discard anomalous results. And that's probably 2 marks. You know what, actually, let me go through the Google document quickly. Because I have it on my screen now. I'll be able to tell you guys some info here. And on a warm summer day, Logic and his best friends drive through the streets of College Park in a 2009 Chevy Impala. Okay, here. So this is my obviously like revision guide book thing. So number 1, crystallization. So this is for chemistry. I've marked this as a higher tier topic because I don't see many people talking about this actually. I don't see many people talking about crystallization. In fact, I might tomorrow go ask 1 or 2 people, do you remember crystallization? And I'll see how many people, because I've marked this as a higher tier topic because I'm just kind of assuming that it is. I'm assuming that people are struggling with this because I have barely heard anybody mention anything about it. And that could be worth up to 6 marks in the exam, guys, for saying you identify your acid, you identify your metal oxide, you would heat up your acid in order to increase the rate of reactions, you would add some magnesium oxide, repeat until there is only magnesium oxide remaining. You would filter it, you would evaporate it. Let me go close my window quickly. You would filter, evaporate it, you would leave to crystallize, and once crystals are formed, you would pat down. For neutralization, some interesting things to note. Obviously, that reaction between an acid and an alkali, which forms water. And another thing that I wrote here is noting carbon dioxide is produced during this reaction via fizzing, which I didn't know, but it appeared in my revision guide, and I did not know that. So if in a question about neutralization, it asks, fizzing is observed, what does this mean? You would say carbon dioxide is being produced. Electrolysis, I'm not even going to go through this, but the positive anode, negative cathode, oil rig, they need to be in an aqueous solution in order to let the ions move around. And it must be in an ionic compound so that the ionic lattice can be broken down. Obviously, we also know how to extract aluminium from bauxite. The chemical tests, obviously adding silver nitrate to halide tests to form a precipitate. Hydrogen test is the squeaky pop because does it combust when in contact with hydrogen gas? Fire combusts when something like that. Carbon dioxide forms a white precipitate when bubbled through calcium carbonate. For flame tests, you use a nichrome wire because nichrome is very unreactive. You would dip it in the metal solution, you would place it under the flame, and the metal hydroxide testing is sodium hydroxide. For organic chemistry, you need to remember MEPB, the monkeys eat peanut butter, for the first 4 base hydrocarbons. Alkanes, which are your standard ones. Remember, carbon has to have 4 bonds. Your alkenes, which have a double carbon bond. Your alcohols, which have OH. I think it's a double OH bond. And COOH, I think is your double bond. Let me go quickly verify that though. Let me have a look at ethanoic acid. Oh, it is. It's a double bond of oxygen, not OH. That is important to note there. And in order to go from an alkene to an alcohol, you react it with steam and phosphoric acid. In order to go from an alcohol to a carboxylic acid, you would react it with an oxidizing agent. And bromine. Bromine can help you determine between alkenes and alkanes, because alkenes, it will react because the double bond will be broken, which would allow the bromine to bond, which would make it colourless. Fractional distillation and combustion. So with fractional distillation, you have the hot bottom, cold top. So the ones with a higher boiling points are gonna, condensate at the bottom? As vaporized oil rises, it cools and condenses. Longer chains. Oh, condense. Yeah, so I was right. Okay. So the longer chains will condense at the bottom. The higher chains will condense. The lower chains will condense at the top. Oh, here, I put for a chemistry tip here. When talking about why a giant structure is something, so if it says why can graphite conduct electricity, talk about the bonds. So, okay, well, carbon can have 4 bonds, but there's only 3 here, which means it's going to have delocalized electrons. In terms of biology, you have your xylem, which is for water, and that's transpiration. They go from the roots directly to the leaves. You have your phloem, which is for sugar, and that is translocation because it goes anywhere in the leaf. You have your guard cells, which control the opening and closure of your, what do you call it? Your stomata. Your stomata open and close for gas exchange and water exchange. Spongy mesophyll is just for gas exchange. And they have a thin water layer, so the water's absorbed into it. What else we got? Via diffusion, that would be. What else we got? Root hair cells, which absorb water. They are like elongated so that they can absorb the most water. So their purpose is for water exchange, or have I put anything else there? ATP. They are the ones that have a lot of mitochondria for energy. Blood vessels, we've just gone through. Mitosis, we've just gone through. Microscopy. You can literally get up to 6 marks just for talking about why you would need something. So for example, safety precautions too. You could get a lot of marks for that. 5 marks on the I am equation and converting. That could literally be a lifesaver in an exam. The heart, we've just done. Pacemakers, the use of stents, which widen the blood vessels, and statins, which reduce cholesterol levels. The food tests, again, we've just gone through. The lungs, I haven't got much for because we haven't done it yet. Infection, we've gone through right at the beginning. Digestion. You could talk about adaptations of the villi, capillaries, and how that creates a strong diffusion gradient. They have mitochondria for active transport. And in terms of everything else, math, I've wrote a tad bit, but that's kind of it. It's mainly biology and chemistry that I've wrote the most for. So yeah, that is the document. I've just updated it with some like English stuff as well. Some English documents that might be of help. So yeah, I hope you guys found this stream helpful. I don't know how to feel, honestly, about the bloody papers because they're so bloody annoying. I don't know whether it's just me who finds them annoying or not. Honestly, they wind me up sometimes. The fact that sometimes you can get marked down for stating the obvious, and other times you have to state the obvious, it's kind of deceptive in a way. And obviously it does require a good base knowledge, which I don't have a good knowledge of biology and chemistry, mainly because the teachers we've had in the past haven't been that good. I mean, Miss Collinson's been good, Mr. Hooper not so much. We had like Miss Lumley in year 9, who the only thing I ever remember from those lessons was her yelling at people. You're right, I don't even know who we had. It was that long ago, I barely remember. So yeah, pretty bad experience with biology and chemistry teachers, which means that the knowledge I have isn't that good. And combine that with these annoying exam questions, and it's kind of hell. But anyways, I'm gonna go now, so goodbye.